parametric test? Anybody who can give me a response to this?
Probability, because we will require a sampling frame in that.
So probability sampling जब होती है, then we can have parametric test. What kind of scales are required if I want to carry out parametric test? Can I have a nominal scaling and conduct parametric test? रुचिका म्यूट पे कर दो बेटा.
Sorry.
And it's okay. Anybody from the participants? Which kind of
Ma'am,
scaling
he
technique?
says
Huh?
we are asking about the scaling. Ma'am, for if we will allow the particular text that can be treated ANOVA correlation regression in parametric, I think.
So what kind of scaling should be there? You can put it in the chat box if you want to, because sometimes your voice is not very clear, Bhavna. So I was asking. So whenever we are having interval higher order scales, then we can have parametric test. In case we are having a non-probability sampling, can some of you just list down the different non-probability sampling techniques very quickly? Non-probability sampling techniques. What are the different non-probability sampling techniques? Fair enough. She's put all the non-probability sampling techniques. So you've got convenience, you've got judgmental, you've got snowball. Yes, convenience sampling is there. Bhavna is saying snowball and convenience. You've got purposive sampling, you've got judgmental sampling, right? And what about the probability sampling techniques? How many probability sampling techniques can you people recall? Quickly. How many probability sampling techniques can you people recall? Random sampling, which is simple random sampling. Strata sampling is there, but is quota sampling a probability sampling technique? Is quota sampling a probability sampling technique? Say yes or no. Is quota sampling a probability sampling technique? No. It is a non-probability sampling technique. Stratified sampling जो है वो एक probability sampling technique होती है, right? And what is the essential requirement for carrying out a probability sampling methodology? What is the essential requirement? Without that essential thing, we cannot carry out probability sampling. We need to have a sampling frame, and sampling frame is nothing but a list or database of all the population of interest elements, right? So we had a discussion on the sampling techniques. We had covered all the non-probability sampling techniques as well as probability sampling techniques. And why was it so important to understand before we start with the SPSS? Because two things determine the choice of test. One is the kind of sampling, the other is the kind of scaling that I have used. Now, I'll request all of you to open up your SPSS and let me know how many of you tried creating a variable view for your particular study. I'd ask you to create just 4-5 questions on variable view in SPSS. Just raise your hands first, and then if possible share your screens so that I can see if some of you have created variable view, because that's the first step, understanding the interface of SPSS. So I'd asked you yesterday, so can you people raise your hands how many of you tried creating a variable view? Please raise your hand so that I know. Ruchika tried creating a variable view. And anybody else other than Ruchika? We have many people. We have got Pramila, Ramisha, Ritu, Sandhya, Banshri. Can you people unmute yourself and let me know the status? Do you have SPSS? We've got Shruti, Sangeeta. Any of you can unmute and let me know whether you people have SPSS or not.
Ma'am, having SPSS.
You have SPSS. Manjula has got
Ma'am, I
SPSS.
also have
Okay.
SPSS.
Ritu has got SPSS. Fair
I
enough.
also got, ma'am.
Okay, nice. So Bhavna has got SPSS. Ruchika has SPSS. So the people who are not having SPSS, it's better to have it. Otherwise, as of now, you'll be able to understand the interface, but when you'll start working on it, you will be stuck on certain points. Ruchika, can you share your screen with the variable view, and then once we see the variable view, you can stop sharing, and I'll start the screen share.
Getting the option to share my screen.
You're not having this option. There's an arrow in the bottom center. You can click on that arrow and present full screen will be there. Can you see it? अगर नहीं हो रहा तो कोई बात नहीं, but you've done it, no? You did not come across any problem as such in creating the variable view, right?
Ma'am, only the problem was this big that I was not able
Very
to
sure.
get
You
that
can put,
which.
see, many of the tests, no, which are non-parametric, and even the lower order test like chi-square, you can put on ordinal as well as interval scale, no? So for that particular question, acha, I can see the screen now. So you've asked about the category. Which category? Okay. And what were the values that you have chosen? Values पे click करके दिखाओ. Enthusiastic, hesitant, indifferent. Fair enough. And then it's a nominal scaling. ठीक है. Then reason. What is your primary reason of considering presence? Right. ठीक है. Okay. Okay.
And ma'am, then this one.
Okay. So in
Ma'am,
all you have
this also I'm not clear with. Like in this, how
put it under ordinal scale, because it's a kind of
if I have.
continuum where, and then again when we use the terms like very inconvenient to very convenient, no, then we are stuck with 2, 3 and 4. What to put under the category of 2, 3 and 4, you
How?
understand? That becomes a problem. Very it could be very inconvenient, inconvenient, neutral, convenient, and very convenient. And if I'm putting a neutral, no, neither convenient nor, then it becomes the interval scale.
Interval.
Then it becomes the interval scale. Whenever we
So
are
if
providing a
I
neutral point, no, and we are having the adjectives, it can be classified under the interval scale.
interval.
Okay, that you can do. And simple demographics, no, Ruchika, and for all the other participants also, simple demographics like gender, your education, your occupation, your religion if required, your geographical location, they're all under nominal scaling. And in most of the questionnaires you'll find that the the first section or the last section, it pertains to the demographic information, because that is very, very relevant for any kind of study. When we are doing any kind of consumer behavior study, or you are doing a study that is pertaining to employee behavior, etc., it becomes very important to have the insights wherein we are trying to understand the dynamics between the demographics and different questions and objectives. So in almost all the questionnaires, you will have 4 5 questions of demographic profiling. Even for you, Ruchika, you would be interested in knowing which is the target audience for the refurbished product, no, in terms of gender. It makes a lot of sense to understand which particular gender is more tilted towards buying refurbished product, whether the knowledge about refurbished product has got anything to do with the gender. Maybe the male members are more informed when it comes to the refurbished categories rather than the female members. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. Or maybe education level or occupation or level has got a bearing, because refurbished products have got 2 things, no, they are cheaper in price, and they are also considered to be eco-friendly, right? So maybe the people belonging to the lower income group, they go for refurbished product because they are easy on their pockets, right? I can get a very good brand of Samsung or iPhone. If it is refurbished, I get it on half the price. So it becomes very cheap proposition for me. So maybe the people belonging to middle or lower income group, they are buying refurbished products because they are cheaper in cost. But the people belonging to affluent class, they are buying refurbished products because they feel it is more eco-friendly. So you will find that your education, maybe the millennials or the generation Z, they are more open to the idea of refurbished products rather than our parents, right? Because our parents will feel that this is an old product that is being remodeled, right? They're not very comfortable. But when it comes to my kids, they are open to the idea of buying refurbished products. So what I'm trying to tell everybody is that for any kind of insights, it is very important to have the demographic profile of the respondents in the questionnaire, because then only you will be able to draw insights. हाँ भावना बताओ. Bhavna has got a question.
Yeah. Yes,
हाँ
ma'am.
बोल.
Ma'am, actually, my question is that in a questionnaire, we will have 4 to 5 questions related to demographic profile. That is
Yeah.
based on nominal scale, right? And what about how many number of questions we must have to collect sample from around 100 people, according to you, ma'am? How many number of questions you think is justified in a questionnaire, ma'am?
Bhavna, Bhavna, I was able to hear up till the point that you said that you'll be having at least 5 questions pertaining to the demographic profile of the individuals. And here I want to add, out of those, the questions pertaining to age and income, they are under ordinal scaling because they are showing a progression also. ठीक है. तो other than that, the questions on gender and maybe your occupation, maybe your geographical location, rural versus urban or metros versus tier 2 cities, it is a nominal scaling. What was the second part of your question? I was not able to hear that. Apart from demographic questions, how many questions? It is entirely dependent, Bhavna, it is entirely dependent upon the number of constructs or variables you are having in your study, right? Because usually when you'll go through the literature, you will find, as I already said in the previous sessions also, no, when you go through a lot of literature pertaining to your topic, you will find, Ruchika, you can stop sharing, beta. You will find that many researchers have taken different models to carry out those studies, and they've taken different variables. If you remember, I keep on telling that in literature review you need to list down all the constructs and variables. So supposedly you are having 5 constructs that emerge out of the literature review. Usually for every construct you need to have 5 to 6 items. Items का मतलब होता है statements for that particular construct, because many a times whenever we are having lesser number of items for each construct, it is not a very good representation. So just consider a very simple example. I'm having 5 constructs of my study. So one construct can be attitude, the other construct can be environmental knowledge, the third construct can be social norms, the fourth construct can be the marketing initiatives. I'm just taking Ruchika's example, right? I'm trying to understand the consumer buying behavior of people with respect to the refurbished products. And through my literature review, I found that there are 4 5 constructs that emerge One is the environmental awareness, the other is the attitude towards eco-friendly products, the third is the marketing, the initiatives that were taken up by the companies, and the fourth is the demographic profile of the people. So these are the four constructs. I am saying that for each construct you need to have at least 5 to 6 statements to capture the attitude of people towards refurbished products, another 5 to 6 statements to capture the environmental knowledge. So when you multiply, it will come out to be 20 statements, 25 statements, plus 5 questions on demographic profile. So in all your questionnaire is going to have nearly 25 to 30 items, and it is going to vary. Somebody would be having lesser number of constructs, just 3 constructs. Somebody can have more number of constructs, 7 constructs. So for each construct you need to have at least 5 statements, because many a times during our analysis we do validity testing of questionnaire. I don't know whether validity and reliability was covered, Ruchika. Validity of questionnaire and reliability of the questionnaire is to be conducted before actually carrying out your study. So for validity testing, what we do, when either there are 2 forms. Ruchika, can you stop sharing so that I can see all the people, and then I'll start with it. Although I'm covering an aspect which is not a part of this session, so for validity, do you know what is validity and what is reliability when it comes to questionnaire? Can anybody just write it down very quickly? What is the meaning of validity and what is the meaning of reliability? Because for carrying out the validity of the questionnaire, there are 2 techniques. Either I take these statements from previous studies. So I've gone through the literature, I've gone through maybe 20-30 good papers which were published in indexed journals of repute, and then I take my statements from those papers. If you've taken your statements and variables from the already published work and recognized indents, then it's considered to be valid. But whenever you are changing your items or you're adding certain questions in the questionnaire, you need to do a validity testing. So we send our questionnaires to experts in that particular field who are going to help us understand, have we included all the items in the questionnaire or not? Are there certain items that can be dropped? Are there certain items that can be added? Is my questionnaire very difficult to understand? Is there a lot of duplication in my questionnaire? So the experts help you out in this process. And many times what happens is that when I'm sending my questionnaire to the expert, I'm having 6 items under one construct, but my expert is going to tell me that you need to drop 2 items because they are unnecessarily duplicating the effort. So the ultimate questionnaire should at least have 4 statements or items per construct, right? So again, depending upon the number of construct, your questions are going to vary. Yes, validity means that my questionnaire is able to fulfill the objectives. It is able to grasp and measure whatever it was intended to measure. उसको करने के बहुत तरीके होते हैं, but one of the most simplest method of doing a validity testing is that I send it to the subject experts and they give me a feedback on the content, coverage, quality, duplication, understandability of the questionnaire. So usually in a thesis, we find our questionnaire can run into 25 to 30 statements. And it is again very important because your sample size is dependent upon the number of items that you're having in the questionnaire that I think Professor Saidun is going to take up with you. So now I'll start sharing the screen. I can see 29 people are there. So it's high time I start sharing the screen, and we'll start with 2 things. First of all, a quick recapitulation कि हमने variable view में क्या किया था, and then there is a way of importing the data on SPSS, because what we do is we create Google Forms to conduct the study, and whenever you send across the Google Form, an Excel spreadsheet is created at the back, right? So you already have data with you. Now you need to import the data to SPSS. When we were doing our PhD, we did not have Google Forms. So at that point in time, what we were doing was we were manually feeding the information in the data view. So very quickly, Ruchika, can you again share the screen just once of the variable view? Just once. because I did not save the variable view that I created yesterday. I'll have to do it again. So can you just share the screen again? Right. So this is the variable view that was created, right? And all the values are put in the column of values. Now click on data view. Ruchika, just click on data view. So when you have created the variable view, you will find when you click on the data view, the columns are created for all the questions, right? So the first question that you had was regarding the category of the consumer. The second was the reason for buying refurbished product. The third was, what was the third? It was something to do with the convenience, right? And then you had ranked the factors, mute pe ho. So one way of doing it, in case you've got hard copy of questionnaires, जैसे कि I did my study in rural consumer behavior, so I did not have the Google forms. I had a filled up questionnaire. So many a times in your PhD also, you will be using both the methods. You will be creating Google forms and sending it to the people who are going to fill it up and send it back to you, like the Excel sheet is created. And maybe you'll end up having hard copies of the questionnaire which you're going to give to the individuals. They're going to fill it up and give it back to you. So under a scenario wherein you do not have the spreadsheet, you can manually fill up the data view. So what we can do is, under category, please click on the first box that is there, Ruchika, the first box under category. Yes. So this particular row, the first row, it talks about the first filled up questionnaire, right? So supposedly the person, he belonged to the category of 2, so you're going to put 2 in the category portion. Just write 2 there. ठीक है. फिर रीजन में you'll check the hard copy of the questionnaire. The reason for buying refurbished was maybe 3. I just put random 3. I'm just saying that it was 3. Convenience mein it was again 4, right? So I have a hard copy of the questionnaire. I consult that questionnaire and I do it manually. That is a traditional way of data feeding, right? But it is a cumbersome process, it is a very long process, and you resort to this process only when you are having hard copies of the questionnaire. Is it clear? In case you are having a Google form, then there is no need to do the manual tabulation of data. Is it okay? Is it fine? Now you can stop sharing, Ruchika. So please let me know, is it clear? In case you are having the hard copy of the questionnaires, you filled it from the, so many a times we find people doing studies in HR and they're asking the teachers to fill up the form. So whenever there's a hard copy of the form, you can manually fill the data view. But in case you've got Google form, I'll let you know how to import the data in SPSS. Is it clear up till here? Please say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just start sharing the screen now. My screen is visible to all? Acha, I had not closed it. Is this data view, variable view, seen by everybody? Is it visible? Please say yes or no, because I cannot see the chat box now. You need to say yes or no. Is it
Yes,
visible?
ma'am.
ठीक है. जैसे मैंने बताया, in case of Ruchika, these columns were created. If I need to do it manually, this first row talks about the first questionnaire. I'll fill it up according to the responses I receive. Maybe it was a male, he was a male of the age group 20 to 25, and he was very satisfied with whatever we were talking about. So this is how I keep on filling the database when I need to do it manually. In case there is an Excel sheet, what we do is go to File. In File, you'll find one tab of Open. In Open, go to Data. when you'll click on data, they'll ask which kind of file do you want to import. Now I said that I've got a Excel file, right? So I'll click on Excel. You see one Excel file. I have got one Excel file. You people must be having certain Excel files on your systems. You can use it. This is another Excel file that I was having. I'm just telling you how to import the data. So I click on this particular Excel file. Then I click on open. It'll ask read variable names from the first row of data. You'll just click on OK. And when you'll click on OK, see the Excel data was completely imported on your SPSS. Can you see that? This is the data view and this is the variable view that was automatically created because I imported the data from Excel. Were you people able to do it along with me, or should I do it again? What I did was that I have imported the data from an Excel sheet. So automatically, instead of me putting all the data one by one from the questionnaires, the whole data, it got transferred from the spreadsheet onto SPSS. And it also created the variable view. Now one problem here is you can see the measures. It is representing nominal in all the measures. Can you see that? By default it takes nominal and the labels are not there. The label is not there, which means the whole question is not there. And the other problem is that it has considered whole of your data as nominal. Can you people see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So you have to do it manually now. General, but I said that it was ordinal or it was nominal. Profession is nominal. Awareness level maybe I said that it was ordinal or it was nominal. Profession is nominal. Awareness level maybe it was, what kind of scale was there? I need to check. The values are not there. So you need to put the values also. Right? You need to put the values from the questionnaire. So gender, the way we did, no, one would be male, right? Two would be, it is entirely on the basis of your questionnaire. ठीक है, तो कुछ कुछ चीजें बाय डिफॉल्ट आ गई, कुछ कुछ चीजों का मतलब है होल ऑफ द डेटा व्यू वाज इंपोर्टेड, many of the things were imported falling under the variable view, but you need to make changes. You need to put the values over here, you need to make the changes in the measures over here, and you need to put the label. This happens when I am just importing the data from the Excel sheet. I'm not doing it manually. The traditional way is create the variable view and put the data on your own one by one, whichever suits you, whichever way suits you, you can go about it. So I have told you two different methods, right? One was that you create the variable view first on your own, and then in data view you did a manual data feeding of the questionnaire. The second thing was that you had Google form, so the spreadsheet was already created. You imported the data on SPSS. The data was there, the data file is just fine, but you have to work on the variable view. On the variable view you need to make changes. वहां पे values डालनी पड़ेंगी तुम्हें क्वेश्चन में, जो तुम्हारे जिस तरह से भी तुमने कोडिंग करी है अपने क्वेश्चनर की, और तुमको वहां पे नॉमिनल एंड ऑर्डिनल स्केलिंग भी चेंज करना पड़ेगा. एनी क्वेश्चंस और कंसर्न्स अप टिल हियर? Any problem, Ruchika? Right? Many things will be there on default, but you will have to make certain modifications in the variable view. Is it clear? So once your variable view is created and your data is there with you, you can start working on the data now. So in case you people have any problems up till variable view or data view, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll start with the simple descriptive statistics. There are two kinds of statistics, please understand. One is descriptive statistics, the other is inferential statistics. Descriptive, it is just describing the characteristics of the respondents. It is just describing the kind of responses that were elicited from the survey. So when I am just providing on a very cursory level the frequencies of responses and the percentages of responses, I am showing bar graphs and pie charts, right? Just describing the responses, it is known as descriptive statistics. Once I start having hypothesis testing, that is known as inferential statistics. I am making inferences for the population based on my survey, which was conducted on a sample of population. I am drawing inferences for the whole population. That is known as inferential statistics. That is what is meant by hypothesis testing. So initially you will find all the papers, research papers, even in your PhDs, initially it will cover the profile of the respondents. Profile of the respondents ka matlab hai, what was the frequency and percentages of male and female? What was the frequency and percentages of in terms of income, in terms of age, in terms of occupation, right? How many people said yes, how many people said no? How many people showed strong agreement versus strong disagreement? Whenever we are just providing the percentages and frequencies and tabulating it or providing it in a graphical form, it is known as descriptive statistics. So should I start with descriptive statistics first? Right. So again, I'll start sharing the screen. Acha, I have already mailed a total database of SPSS, right? So I would like you people to open up that database of SPSS, which was initially shared with you people, and then I'll let you know. Simply put, how can you have the frequency tables? How can you have percentages over there? How can you have it in a graphical format or a pie chart format? Once everybody has got a clarity as to how to go about it, then we'll start with cross tabulation, right? And once you have the clarity of cross tabulation, if time permits, I will do a chi-square testing also with you people. Is it clear? So first of all, try to open up the spreadsheet, the SPSS data sheet that was shared with you people. In case you've got any problems or concerns, you can ask me instead of putting it in the chat box because I cannot see that. There's one database that was shared with you people. Can you people see this database? Say yes or no. Those of you who can open up the
Yes, ma'am.
database can open it up in their systems. In case you do not have SPSS, just have a look at it. This was a particular data that was collected by one of my scholars for a PhD work. So Bhavna was asking how many questions are required. If you can have a look, there is no upper limit to the questions that you can have, Bhavna. But usually we try to have a very crisp questionnaire because otherwise the people are not going to fill up the responses if it's a very lengthy and long questionnaire. But this one was a long questionnaire. It goes up till uh, this point. So these are the questions that were there. The first question in the questionnaire was pertaining to the gender. The second was talking about the age of the respondents. The third was the marital status. The fourth was the family size, how many members were there in the family. Then the number of kids, the educational level, the occupational level, right? So as you can see, 7 questions earning. 8 questions were belonging to the demographic profile of the respondents, right? This study was conducted to find out the shopping behavior of the people in the malls. So the whole work was done to understand what are the factors that impact the shopping behavior and the patronage behavior of people in shopping malls. And then they had categorized one set of variables was the demographic variable. The second set of variable was the motives of going to the shopping mall. The third set was pertaining to the situational factors. So this particular study had 4 or 5 constructs of study, wherein we were trying to find whether the gender behave differently when it comes to shopping behavior. Then we were trying to find whether people were having utility motives or hedonic motives for going in the shopping mall. Then we were also trying to find whether the situational factors in the mall, like a sale happening, right, any event happening in the mall, does it have any bearing on the shopping behavior? So all the questions are there. So you can see that it's a very, very huge database because it is for a thesis. That's why so many questions are there. So first the variable view was created, and then if you have a look at the data view, this is a huge, huge data that you can see. So if you just try to scroll it down, this is the sample size for this particular study. The sample size of this study was running into hundreds. How many? We have got 869. So the sample size for this particular study was 869. See, many a times people ask me this question as to what is the appropriate sample size for carrying out a thesis or a PhD, right? There is no standard sample size that is considered to be appropriate. It is dependent upon the topic of your work, right? This was a simple shopping behavior study. And you can very well imagine that given a place like Delhi or any metro wherein we are having so many malls, the population of interest, the people who could have filled up the form, it was huge, because every person you can possibly think of goes to a mall nowadays. So first of all, the most important thing is it is very difficult to do a probability sampling here, because probability sampling requires a sampling frame. From where can I get the list of all the people who've gone to the shopping mall? It is nearly impossible, because every second person here goes to a shopping mall. There is a no standard list that can be there which is 100% complete. So pehla learning from this particular exercise is that it is difficult to do a random sampling here. It is difficult to do any kind of probability sampling because the sampling frame is not there. So I need to have another way of sampling people. It can be either judgmental or quota, right? So in case I'm having a judgmental sampling, I'll put a filter question in my questionnaire, or I'll go to the malls. Judgmental sampling requires that you've got certain selection criteria. So if I go to the malls and I stand at the exit, and the people coming out of the mall, they are being asked the question, at least I made sure that they have visited a mall once, right? Or I can create a questionnaire wherein I have a filter question. In the last session, I briefed you about filter question means the qualifiers. So maybe one question would be, have you visited shopping malls in the past 3 months? The person says yes. What is the frequency of visiting the mall? He says maybe 4 times a month, right? So these are the kind of filter questions that you should always ask before going ahead with the survey. So if the person says that yes, he or she has gone to the shopping mall, and yes, in a month they visited twice, or maybe in 3 months they visited 4 times, then they are suitable respondents to fill your questionnaire. So as you can see, it's a huge database. Now, what do I do with so many numbers? Unless and until I can boil down these numbers into percentages and frequencies, it is not making any sense to me. So what you do is we start with simple percentages and frequencies. You can follow the whole process step by step. If the people are having SPSS, you can do it along with me. In case you're not having SPSS, I'll suggest you keep on writing the script. So step 1 would be open the data file, and step 2 is go to analyze. Can you people see a whole drop down menu is open now? Is it visible to all? Please say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. So in the analysis, the second thing that is visible is descriptive statistics. You can see there's a whole drop down menu having all the kind of possible test, parametric as well as non-parametric. You can see descriptive statistics, then you can have correlation, you can have regression, You can compare means का मतलब वही है कि either we are having t test or we are having independent t test, pair comparison, one way ANOVA. You think about it, and the test is inbuilt in the system. You do not need to mug up or learn any kind of equations. It is there, the data is there, the tests are there. What you require is the knowledge of using the appropriate test, because if it's not there, then the whole process goes wrong. So in case I want to understand the variance, the difference between the population, I can go for comparing means, which is t-test, pair t-test and ANOVA. If I want to find out the relationship between variables, I go for correlation test, right? If I want to understand the cause and effect, right, I go for regression test. I said that there are non-parametric version for every kind of test. So you find non-parametric test. So in case your data or sampling is such that you cannot have a parametric test, as you can see, all the non-parametric versions are there. So you go here and you will find, if you want to have a non-parametric version of t-test, you will have Man-Whitney. If you want to have a non-parametric version of ANOVA, you've got Kruskal-Wallis. So every test that you can possibly think of, it's there inbuilt in the software. So we'll start with the simpler things first. We just want to know the frequencies of responses. So I go on descriptive, then I go on frequencies, and I click on it. When I click on it, see, all the questions, they emerge on the left hand side window. All the questions that are there in your questionnaire, they are here now, all of them. And this image, they show whether it is ordinal or nominal or scale in nature. So I want to know what was the gender wise profile of the respondent. So you need to click the particular question you want the analysis of. I click on indicate, and then I click on the arrow, it goes there. Please try to do it. I want to know what was the age bracket of the respondents. I click on it, I do it here, age wise. I want to know the occupation of the people. Whichever question you want the frequencies to be calculated, just click on them and click on the arrow. Is it clear? Once you have chosen the different questions for which you need the frequency table, you can click on OK. This will just provide you the frequency counts. Within fraction of second, you'll find the output is there. Right. So out of the 869 people, 444 were the males and 425 were females. It also gives you percentage wise breakup. 51.1% of the respondents were male and 48.9% of respondents were females. Can you see that? What you need to do is, out of the, see, SPSS output is going to give you a lot of numbers. Not all the numbers are required to be put in your thesis or research paper. You can always right click and copy the table. So I can copy the table and paste it on the Word document on which I am working. And in all these different columns, what is required by you is just the column on frequency and the column on percentages. There is no need to put valid percent or cumulative percent. It is not required. It is just unnecessarily providing too many numbers on the table. So when it comes to the age profile of the respondents, different age groups are mentioned, the frequencies are mentioned, and the percentages are mentioned. Just right click, copy and paste it on the Word document. You can remove valid percent and cumulative percent. It is not required. In such a way, you can create all the frequency and percentage tables for the whole of your questionnaire. Is it clear up till here?
Yes.
Right. Up supposedly, apart from the frequency and percentages, I want the graphical representation also. I need to have certain pie charts and bar graphs. So what did I do? I just went on analyze again. The variables are already chosen because I had chosen them for the frequency count. I go to charts now. Click on charts. Now it is going to ask you what kind of graphical representation do you want for your data. You want bar graphs, you want pie charts, or you want histograms. So supposedly I say that I would like to have any to have pie charts. Continue. Okay. So you'll find that now the pie charts are there, right? All the pie charts and the tables are there on a click of a button. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just trying to understand how the responses were falling under different categories. What was the percentage of responses? What was the frequency count? And how did it reflect in the graphical representation? Right? This is simple descriptive frequency, percentage, and graphical representation. This was your database, right? Now, this particular method just told me that maybe I was having 20 questions. Out of 20 questions, 5 questions were pertaining to demographic, although there were a lot many questions, but I'm just giving you a simple example that you had a questionnaire which was having 20 questions. So the first 5 questions were pertaining to the demographic profile. Then the next 3-4 questions, they were pertaining to in this case they were pertaining to shopping behavior were measured on 3 parameters: the frequency of visiting the mall, the amount spent in the mall, and the duration of visit, right? How many hours you were spending in the mall. There were 3 different parameters. So when I did a simple descriptive statistics, I found that yes, there were 50% males and 49 or whatever percent of females. Then I also found that in terms of age group there was certain bifurcation. In terms of education level and occupation, certain bifurcation. Amount jo tha, the earning of the people, it was also different. Then I tried to find out ki, in terms of time spending behavior in the mall, usually people spend this much of time. Yeah, females spend this much of time. Now this particular information is a haphazard information. It is not giving you any good insights about the way your population was behaving, right? अभी एक और दिखाती हूँ, wherein we are just trying to analyze how much time the people were spending in the mall, what was the frequency of visiting the mall, and what was the amount that was spent by the people in the mall. Just 1 minute. So on this data, I want to understand how much time people were spending in the mall. So I go to descriptive. You could have gone to frequencies also if you desired that. अब इसको हम हटा देंगे. The things that you want to remove, just click on it and reverse arrow पे click करोगे, it will go back into the system. So I am interested in understanding how much time people spent in the mall, what was the amount of money spent by them, and what was the frequency of visiting the mall. Is it clear? I just want to understand their shopping behavior now. In terms of 3 variables, one variable is how much time are they spending. The second variable is how much amount of money they are spending per visit. And the third is the frequency of visit. How frequently are they going in the mall? Again, I have chosen these 3 and I'll put OK. So I found, acha, can you people see the frequency table here and the percentages here in terms of time spending behavior? What inferences can you draw if you are shown this particular table? What can you write about this table? The first table, one by one, you people can tell me. The first table talks about the time spent at the mall, right? And it is showing the frequency of people and the percentage of people. What can you write about this table? If I give a question, please analyze this table and provide an inference. what would you write? Can you draw any inference from here?
Not out of the total sample,
Hmm?
67 spent less than 1 hour,
Uh,
266 people.
Acha, Ruchika, just one thing. Whenever we are having frequencies and percentages, beta, it is better to provide your
Okay.
findings in percentages, because frequency
Okay.
it becomes difficult to understand. 67 out of 869 wo kitna hua? It's better if I'm able to provide my response in
So
terms of percentage.
7.
Hmm.
Okay, so 7.7% people spend their time less than 1 hour,
Hmm.
and 30% people spend 1 to 3 hours.
Hmm.
35% people spend 3 to 5 hours, and 26% people spend more than 5 hours in the
Huh.
mall.
So you can very safely say that the maximum or majority of the people, the maximum
People.
percentage of people, they were spending nearly 3 to 5 hours in the mall, right? In terms of amount spending behavior, again, if I have a look, I'll say that usually the maximum percentage, which comes out to be 25.8% of the people, which is 26% of the people, they spend nearly 1,000 to 2,000 rupees per visit, right? And in terms of frequency of visiting the mall, you will see that it was talking about 3 months. Don't get jittery ki ek mahine mein 15 baar kaise. The question was, how many times have you visited the mall in the past 3 months, right? So 38% of the people, they had visited the mall more than 15 times, right, in that particular duration that was mentioned. So whenever we are having this kind of a data, we can only provide maximum percentage were behaving like this, and minimum percentage of people were behaving like that. So this is providing you just a very vague overview of the behavior of the people. Now, as a researcher, I would be interested in knowing, amongst the two genders, male and female, which gender is spending more time in the mall. Or I would be interested in knowing, amongst the different age groups, which particular age group is frequenting the mall more, they are going to the mall more. Or I would be interested in knowing which particular age group spends more in the mall, because as a retail operator or as a mall manager, I want to have a target audience. I want to understand which is the most lucrative segment for me. Should I have my strategies driven towards females who are younger in age and having this kind of an income, rather than males, right? So in order to have a target population, this kind of data is not providing you very good insights. If I want to have good or better insights, I need to cross tabulate. There's a concept of cross tabulating that provides you wonderful insights. Cross tabulating means that you are trying to tabulate, you are trying to put two tables together. So I am not only interested in knowing the maximum time spent by the respondents, I'm also interested in knowing whether these respondents are females or males, whether these respondents who are spending so much of time in the mall, whether they belong to a younger age group or a higher age group. When it comes to amount spending behavior, the people who are spending maximum amount in the mall, whether they are males or females, and whether they are belonging to a younger age bracket or a higher age bracket. And for conducting this kind of an exercise, there is a provision which is known as cross tabulation. Just give me 1 minute. So what do? I go to analyze again. This cross tabulation is very good for drawing insights. You go to descriptive statistics, and within descriptive statistics you will find cross tab. Click on cross tab. Once you click on cross tab, a window will open which talks about rows and columns. Basically, which two items do you want to cross tabulate? Which two variables do you want to put together? So, as I said, I'm very much interested in understanding how males and females, whether males and females are spending the same amount of time, frequency, and amount in the mall, or whether it is varying. So I'll put indicate your gender in rows, and within the columns, I'm going to put amount spending behavior or time spent at the mall. You can see put time spending behavior in columns, right? So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to understand amongst males and females, are both the categories spending the same amount of time in the mall or not, right? So I just click on these two items and I click on OK. Once I click on OK, there is a table which again you people can see. It is dividing the responses into males and females, and it is giving the time that is spent in the mall. So in the population of male, which was the total number was 444, it is giving you the data as to how much time was spent by the males in the mall. And then in case of females, which was the total number was 425, it is telling you the number of females who were visiting the mall for different durations. Now what is happening here is that it is just giving you the frequencies. If you can see within these frequencies, can you make certain inferences? Just have a look at this data and let me know who is spending more time and what is the time frame for that particular segment. Just have a look at this data and please try to draw inferences. We're just trying to find amongst male and females who is spending more time in the mall.
Females are spending more time, more than 5 hours.
Right. So when on
हाँ.
just by having a look at the frequencies, I can see that when it comes to males, maximum males, majority of the males, they are spending 1 to 3 hours in the mall. As against that, I find 174 females out of 425 who are spending 3 to 5 hours in the mall. The problem with this table is that because it is showing you just the frequency, it becomes a little tricky for you to write it. So in case you're having percentages along with frequencies, your life becomes easier. So what we'll do is we go to analyze, go to descriptive, cross tab, and we had chosen just these two. Then you need to go to cells. Can you see the tab of cells?
Sorry, ma'am, can I ask one thing because we
Uh-huh.
are on this slide only? We have put a gender in the rows and a
Hmm.
column in column we have put time spent. So can we put them interchangeably? Like, can time spent be kept under rows? Is that
It can be
or
done, but usually what happens is whenever we are talking about the independent and dependent variable, no, Ruchika, usually we put the independent variable in the rows and the dependent variable in the columns. Otherwise, there is no specific rule. You can interchange it; it doesn't matter at all. But
okay, ma'am? Thank you.
put it in this way only, right? So now I want to have percentages also. So I'll click on cells. It is going to ask what do you want other than the observed frequency. Can you see percentages? I will say that I would like to have the percentages also. And because I'm interested in understanding the percentages of male and their time spending behavior and percentages of female and their and it is given in rows, I'll click on rows. Do you understand? If you would have taken it, if Ruchika, you would have taken the gender in columns and the time spending behavior in rows, then you would be clicking on column because you are interested that out of the whole population of males, how are they behaving in terms of percentages. Now I've taken males in row and females in row, so I am clicking on percentages in rows. You can have percentage in rows, you can have percentage in columns, and you can have overall percentages also. For the sake of convenience, we take rows here. Okay. So I have clicked on percentages. Apart from frequencies, I'm also interested in knowing the rows, row wise percentages. So I have clicked on row, then I click on continue. Okay. So what has happened here is apart from the frequencies, you're also having percentages now. Can you people see and understand the difference between the two tables? in the initial table, we had cross-tabulated, we had taken the gender, we had taken the time spending behavior, but it was only in frequencies, only in numbers. You can represent it this way also, but whenever you are providing percentages, the analysis becomes easier. So now, apart from the frequencies, you're having percentages also. And very clearly, you can see that 38.3% of the males they're spending 1 to 3 hours in the shopping mall as compared to females, wherein 40.9% of the females are spending 3 to 5 hours. So we can very safely say that in terms of time spending behavior, females are spending more time in the malls rather than males. Is it clear? Is it clear up till here? What I have done is I have first of all shown you how to calculate simple frequencies and percentages. Simple frequencies and percentages just provide you an overview of the responses. Supposedly, you want to understand the dynamics of how the people are behaving in terms of demographic profile. So, I'm interested in knowing Hamari study, in this particular study, we had taken three dependent variable. One was the spending behavior in the mall, the frequency of visiting the mall, and the amount that the people were spending in the mall. Right. So on these three parameters, we can do a comparison in between gender. We can also do a comparison in between age groups. I am very interested in knowing the frequency of visiting. When the people are visiting the mall, whether the youngsters are visiting the mall more or the elder age group, they are visiting the mall more. So I can run a cross tabulation wherein I'll have age in one as one variable and frequency or amount spending behavior as the other variable. You can do it. You can do the same for the amount spending behavior. Maybe the younger generation, they are going to the mall at a very frequent basis, but when it comes to amount spending behavior, they're not spending so much of money. Any
நான் நல்லா இல்லவே இல்லை வந்துட்டேன் நான். யார் யார் பண்ணதுமா பைக்கா இருக்கா ஏன்
can you put her on mute? हो जाएगा. So I'll
ஆமா
again,
பைக்கா
are you
கூட
people able to
இருக்காங்க
understand why is it so
மத்தவங்க பேர்
important
எல்லாம்
to have
தெரியல
cross tabulation? Because in cross tabulation you are able to get better insights. The previous cross tabulation we tried to understand who was spending more time, whether females were spending more times or males were spending more times in the malls. Now I'm interested who is spending more money in the mall, because at the end of the day the retailers want to earn money. They are least bothered whether you're coming once, twice, or many times to the store. They are more concerned about the amount that you're spending in the store. So what I can do is I can again do a cross tabulation wherein I'll try to see which of the genders is spending more money in the mall. So again I'll share the screen. Here I go to analysis, descriptive, cross tabulation, and now instead of having time spending behavior, I'm interested in knowing the amount of money they are spending there. Right? And as I said, I'm also interested in having the percentages. So the row wise percentages, it is done. Continue. Okay. So now it is showing me how males and females are behaving in terms of amount spending behavior. What insights can you draw? Have a look at the percentages. The amount is mentioned 1,000 to 2,000, 2,000 to 3,000, 3,000 to 4,000, more than 6,000, right? So please have a look and let me know which of the two genders is spending more money in the mall. Any person other than Ruchika? It would be great if somebody else tells me which of the two genders, male versus female, they're spending more money in the mall.
Male.
Ma'am, males are
Males are
spending more
spending more.
money.
Males are spending more money. Right.
As 5,000 to 6,000, it is 11.9, and more than 6,000, 10.4, which is greater than the female spendings.
Right, right. So we are able to see that the males are spending more money in the mall rather than the females, right? So the similar kind of cross tabulation can be conducted for the age groups. It can be conducted for maybe occupations, right? So you're getting better insights over there. So this is a preliminary descriptive analysis that can be done, right, for different demographic profiles. Just a minute. So, do you people have any problems up till here, or should I move ahead? We have done cross tabulation. You can run cross tabulation for different demographic profile. If possible, please run a cross tabulation wherein you are trying to find how different age groups are behaving in terms of time spending behavior in the mall, or in terms of frequency of visiting the mall. How many people amongst you are having SPSS? Who are having this particular database and are actually working on it? Ruchika, other than Ruchika? Or you want me to explain more? You need to start speaking. Then only I'll be able to understand whether to go ahead with chi-square testing. I can take chi-square testing also, because it's the most preliminary test that we can use, and it's very simple to compute. Chi-square is a test that you can apply on nominal scales very frequently. Once you're doing the cross tabulation, you can also run a chi-square test, and it does not require too many assumptions and conditions to be fulfilled. So supposedly, if my data is on nominal scaling, right, both the independent and dependent data, on one end I am taking gender, and on the other end I am taking the time spending behavior or the amount spending behavior, then I can run a cross tab along with the chi-square. So it tells you whether both the gender, statistically, whether you can have a hypothesis or not. Abhi to we were not having any hypothesis as such. We were just trying to analyze the data and get proper insights. Now whatever insights I'm drawing, whether I can prove it statistically or not, the most basic test that you can use is a chi-square test. So the cross tabulation that we just did, we can have a chi-square testing on that cross tabulation also. Right. So I'll just share how to go about it. That is the last thing for today, because it's the most preliminary statistical tool. It can be computed on the nominal data as well as ordinal data. Once you have done chi-square, in the post-lunch session, Professor Saidon is going to take up different kind of tests. She's going to start with maybe she'll take up chi-square, and then she'll start with t-test, ANOVA, right, correlation. All these tests will be taken up one by one by her. So I'll just very quickly run a chi-square test with you people. Please try to follow it, or you can write it down. So the same set of data I'm having, very similar to cross tabulation, I'll go about it. I'll go on analyze, I go on descriptive, and descriptive, I go on cross tabulation, right? And I have taken gender and I've taken amount spending behavior, and we saw that the males were spending more amount of money, although they were spending lesser amount of time in the mall, but yes, they were spending more amount of money in the malls. Now I want to prove it statistically that there's a difference between males and females and their amount spending behavior in the mall, right? So as you people already know, there's a concept of null hypothesis and there's a concept of alternate hypothesis. Are you people aware of the concept of null hypothesis? Anybody can tell me what is a null hypothesis versus what is an alternate hypothesis? What is the meaning of null?
There is no significant difference between the two, the which we are
Yes.
testing.
Yes, whenever we are having certain, we are very clear. Once we are formulating our hypothesis, at that point in time, we've got a clarity what is our independent variable and what is our dependent variable. So, whenever we are negating any kind of difference or any kind of relationship, null means zero or no. So, whenever we write that there is no difference between the gender and their amount spending behavior in the mall, this is a null hypothesis. And the alternate hypothesis is what we want to prove. This is that there is a difference between males and females and their amount spending behavior in the mall. So, when you were doing a descriptive analysis in your cross tabulation, you were able to see very clearly that the males were spending more amount of money in the mall rather than the female. Now I want to prove this statistically also. So up till here we were running a cross tab test. Now I go to statistics, and within statistics you can very clearly see chi-square and correlation. As of now, we are just understanding the chi-square. So I click on chi-square, I click on continue, right? And then OK. So once you're going to do that, the first table is the cross tabulation table, which you already had. And you people had seen the cross tabulation table, and you yourself had told me that in terms of percentages, the males are spending more amount of money rather than the females. Now I want to prove it statistically. So I computed a chi-square test, and as you can see, there's a chi-square test table over here, and within this table a Pearson chi-square value is written and a significant score is there, right? This significance score is also known as a p-value, probability value. And you need to understand when Saidun ma'am is going to take up the normal distribution curve and she's going to tell you how this p-value is calculated. Whenever this p-value is less than 0.05, please listen to me very intently. Whenever this p-value is less than 0.05 or it is less than 0.01, we reject the null hypothesis and we accept the alternate hypothesis. So what was the null hypothesis in this case? Very quickly, can anybody tell me what was the null hypothesis that we had formulated for this particular example here?
That there is no significant difference in the amount spent in the mall by male and
Males and
female.
females, right? So there is no significant difference between the males and females in terms of amount spent at the mall. This was the null hypothesis. And what was the alternate hypothesis? That there is a difference between male and female and the amount spent in the mall. Now look at the p-value. The p-value is 0.000. It is less than 0.05. So whenever this significance value or p-value is less than 0.05, we say that the null hypothesis is rejected. And when the null hypothesis is rejected, automatically the alternate hypothesis is accepted. So we are saying that we are able to statistically prove that the genders are behaving differently in terms of amount spending behavior, and the males are spending more money rather than the female, and it is statistically proven also. you can run these kind of tests for all kind of demographic variables. This particular test I have run for gender and amount spending behavior. You can run similar test for age. Take the age as the independent variable and take the amount spending behavior as the dependent variable. You can take the age as the independent variable and frequency of visiting the mall as the dependent variable, run a cross tab, and try to run a chi-square test and let me know what your output is. So the people who are having SPSS, do it right now. That's the last exercise for today. With that, we have taken up the descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics mein you need to understand how do you compute the frequency table. You need to understand how do you run the frequency and percentages. How do you make the graphical representation. Then how do you make the cross tabulation tables. Whatever I'm saying, in case somebody is not clear about it, they can ask me. You need to understand how to make a cross tabulation table. Once you know that, you can easily run the chi-square test on it to find out the differences. Chi-square test can be used on a nominal scale also. So, very quickly, the people who are having SPSS, run a chi-square test in which you can take the age as the independent variable and the frequency of visiting the mall as the dependent variable, and run a chi-square test and let me know the results. That's the last thing for today. Do it and let me know. And now, because we are towards the fag end of the session, you people can switch on the cameras if possible and let me know whether you were able to understand anything out of the 3 sessions that we had and how to go about it. Please, the people who are having SPSS, run the test and let me know. Others can switch on the camera and give me a feedback as to whether you were able to understand anything. I understand that we're taking a lot of topics, but were you people able to understand some of the theoretical concepts or SPSS? Yes or no? Thank you so much, sir, because I am a little apprehensive whether people were able to understand anything or not, because nobody is speaking anything or sharing the screen. But still, I understand that this is a problem with the online format. Usually, in the offline format, we are able to be there to guide you through the whole process of conducting the exercise. That is a better way of doing it, but still. Ruchika, are you trying to run the test? Ruchika is not listening now. Okay, let me know as soon as you're done with the test. Let me know what are the results. Should I run this test once again with you people? Unmute yourself, Ruchika. Unmute yourself.
Can I share my screen?
Ha, please do. Fair enough. So first you did a cross tabulation and then you did a chi-square test. What was the null hypothesis here? Hmm? What is the independent variable here? People can put
Ma'am, age I have taken,
as
but
independent variable, right? थोड़ा कंफ्यूज हो गई. What is the independent variable here? Put it in the chat box. And anybody other than Ruchika, what is the independent variable here? And what is the dependent variable? In the chat box, what is the independent variable?
Ma'am, age is independent variable,
Yes. And
but dependent variable is frequency of
frequency of
visiting the
visiting the
mall.
mall, right?
But we have so many age groups, so इसमें
We have so many
अभी
age groups, but the null hypothesis remains the same. No, there is no difference in between the age groups and their
age
frequency of
groups
visiting the malls. And the alternative would be there is a difference between the age
in
groups
between
and
the
the
age
frequency
groups
of visiting the mall. Then we can have a look at the p value. The p value is
zero
0.0000,
0.00 ठीक
which
है.
is less than 0.05. So whenever the p value is less than 0.05, what do? We reject the null hypothesis. So we are rejecting the null hypothesis, we are accepting the alternate hypothesis, which means ki difference to hai. Now you need to have, because it's a very huge table, that is why maybe you were getting confused. Now if I have a look at it, I'll see that in the age group of 16 to 25, just have a look at the age group of 16 to 25, nearly 60% of the people or respondent in this age group, they were visiting the mall more than 15 times. And now you can have a look at the age group of 55 and above, and you will see
Zero.
that 78.3% of the people in age 55 and above, they were just going for up to 5 times, right? Just have a look at the extreme age groups. One extreme age group is 55 and above. We are talking about elderly people, and we see that their frequency of visit is quite low. Nearly 79% जो है वो सिर्फ they are going there 5 times in 3 months. But as against that, when you have a look at people in the age group which is very like 16 to 25, you find that 60% of them, 59% of them are going to the mall more than 15 times. So there is a lot of variance in terms of the frequency of visiting the mall. It is not a continuous uniform that all the age groups are visiting in the same manner. Some age groups are frequenting the mall at a more regular basis rather than the others. And so we are able to statistically prove this also, that in terms of age groups, the kind of people who are visiting the mall, it is different. So with that, we come to an end to the basic description of SPSS and the descriptive statistics. In case you people have any queries, you can always post the queries to us, but you need to start working on SPSS to get a familiarity with the interface. Once you do that, you will be able to run all the tests. As you can see, all the tests are there, but what is more important is understanding the usage of relevant test. This is a software, it is going to give you the output for any random thing that you do, right? But it should make sense to you as a researcher. Where do you want the hypothesis? What kind of test should you use under those circumstances? How do you draw inferences from those tests? And that is the whole purpose, right? And in the 2 sessions that are going to happen later on, one in the post lunch and tomorrow in the morning, a lot many hypothesis testing would be done. So you people should have your SPSS softwares and the database ready. If not, try to put it down somewhere so that you can refer to it later on. So with that, we come to an end of this session. And thank you so much for being there throughout the session. And I hope I was able to make you understand certain things. Thank you so much, all of you. So
Thank you,
it's a
ma'am.
goodbye. Bye bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Welcome. Bye bye.